Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. This week, things are beginning to show signs that maybe, just maybe, the market is starting to calm down a little bit. It's still pretty turbulent, as you're going to see when we go through the video today, but you will notice that even though there's still a lot of reserve list cards spiking, all different sets all across the board, you will notice that these spikes aren't quite as extreme as they have been, and there's not quite as many either. In today's video, we will actually look at a higher frequency of non-reserve list cards compared to the last few weeks. Additionally, I was able to move our threshold down to $4. So basically, all the cards you're going to see are moving at least $4 up or down this week. Before we get into all the details, though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use that Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pick up Kaldheim products there as well as many other things that they have on the website. And don't forget to put in that Heroes promo code. It will save you money. For example, if you want to pick up a Kaldheim Collector Booster Box, the price will go down to $190.80 once that code's put in there. And as you know, whenever you use that promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Once again, this week, we're going to begin with the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. These are the cards that are moving the most that are legal within the Pioneer format. When it comes to Standard this week, there's again not a whole lot to talk about, so we're going to skip that section and hopefully bring it back next week. We'll have to see what happens in the marketplace. I assume maybe some people will get a little bit higher on some Standard cards once they see what decks are doing well on MTGO and on Arena, so time will tell. But let's get into these Pioneer cards. We'll begin with a couple cards losing value, starting with Crucible of Worlds from 10th edition, down 458 to 47.75. So this card does continue to normalize down this week. Sure, it sees Modern, Vintage, and a whole lot of Commander play, but not too long ago, this card was spiking pretty aggressively due to the land-centric strategies that were pushed by both Zendikar Rising and Commander Legends. Shivan Dragon is next. This is the copy from Revised. It goes back down 632 this week to 32.99. So you're going to see a lot of these cards that were spiking heavily over the last couple weeks beginning to retrace. I don't think they're going to necessarily go back down to where they started, but they are beginning to lose value. And that is because a lot of people see these spikes and they say, wait a minute, I have a bunch of these cards in a closet, in a box, in a binder at home. I'm going to go ahead, throw them on eBay, maybe sell them to a store, what have you. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get an increased supply start to creep in the market. That seems very true of a lot of these revised cards that were spiking, but we have a whole new round spiking this week, which you're going to see later in the video. When it comes to gameplay, there are some 93-94 fans out there that might be interested in revised cards in general, especially for those that were priced out of cards from Alpha, Beta, and then Unlimited. Like I said in a previous video, the majority of 93-94 players do play variants where they can use the cards from Revised. Outside of that format, this does see a little Commander play, but not a whole lot else. Now we have a card going up in value. Hellkite Tyrant, in particular the copy from Commander 2016, is spiking pretty aggressively. Although the Gatecrash copy is going up a little bit this week too, but this one's going up 1933 to 38.88. Dragons in general have been pretty hot this week. This one is a great Commander card, and now it is seeing additional play and builds around some new Kaldheim cards. Although nothing is pushing this more than Magda Brazen Outlaw, you'll find this on a lot of those builds. And that takes us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. We're going to begin with some cards losing value, and the first one is Aboro, Palace in the Clouds. This has lost a lot of value, down 458 now to 47.75. And this card got super hot recently as a lot of players were trying to build new Commander decks around these land-centric strategies that came from Commander Legends and Zendikar Rising. This does see some Modern play too, which is worth noting. You'll find this in mill decks. Next we have Lightning Bolt. The copy from the list goes down 492 to 1402, and a lot of these cards from the list are still normalizing because they are hard to pull, at least any one particular card. Now with that being said, remember Kaldheim just came out, and there are some changes to the list, but remember the majority of the cards are staying the same. So currently there is a new wave of pack openings that are getting more copies of these into the marketplace. And when it comes to gameplay, of course, this is a card that sees a lot of play in multiple formats: Modern, Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. Next is Venser Shaper Savant from Future Sight, down $6.50 to $22. This is retracing a little bit after some recent increases. And this card did get hot recently because it was showing up in a lot of early Orvar the All-Form deck lists for Commander. It's also in a lot of other Commander builds too. Additionally, it does get some play in Modern and Legacy. Remember, Time Spiral Remastered is coming though, and any card from that block could potentially show up there as a reprint. And that brings us to another revised card that is normalizing back down a little bit. This is Wrath of God. It goes down 657 to 4342. When it comes to gameplay, this is a highly played commander board sweep. And here's another revised card coming back down. Bad Moon down 664 to $18. Another really solid commander card. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, the copy from Ultimate Masters, goes down 748 to 8149. You might remember this card was inflated a little bit higher than the other copies. Things are just normalizing out a little this week. Now, this card continues to see a lot of play. Just in Modern, you could find this sometimes in Tron builds. It's in these Tybalt's Trickery decks, which are gaining some momentum on Magic the Gathering Online. Other decks in the format will run it too. When it comes to Commander, it sees a ton of play. Kozilek the Great Distortion builds, which are always popular, and a lot of other places. Kaldheim has caused increased play in Commander for this card as well, showing up in builds around cards like Savala Ice Shaper and Isika, God of the Tree / the Prismatic Bridge, for example. Rees the Exile. This is the newly reprinted copy that you're going to find in the Kaldheim Commander deck Elven Empire. It goes down 803 this week to 446. This is a fantastic Commander card for any Elf Tribal build. Speaking of Elvish builds in Commander, here is Elvish Champion, and this is the beginning of the cards going up in value, as you can see. 8th edition goes up 407 to 1050. Duels of the Planeswalkers, that copy goes up 847 to 1949. And the 9th edition copy goes up 863 to 1599. So pretty clear to see why this card's going up in value. Kaldheim did push the Elf Tribe. We got the Kaldheim Commander deck Elven Empire, which is built around Lathril Blade of Elves. It would be a great upgrade for that deck, or if you just want to build around Lathril from scratch, this is a good card to have for that purpose as well. Next we have Grave Pact, 10th edition up 439 to 2750, Commander up 928 to 2999. Great Commander card seeing more play now in Tergrid God of Fright / Tergrid's Lantern builds. A lot of players are building around that new card from Kaldheim. Balefire Dragon, another dragon going up in value. This is the copy from Innistrad up 1267 to 3966. This is often found in Commander Kali of the Vast or other Dragon Tribal builds. Now it's getting a push and getting more play in that format because of a Kaldheim card, and again, that card is Magda Brazen Outlaw. Blood Moon, the original copy from the Dark, mostly moving because it is the original copy from the Dark, getting harder and harder to find all the time in good condition. This week it jumps up 1582 to 7866. Sure, this does see gameplay, Modern, Rakdos Death Shadow, Rakdos Midrange, Mono Red Aggro, and more. Sees Legacy play, sees Commander play, even getting additional play now because of some new Kaldheim cards in Commander. You'll find this in builds around things like Magda Brazen Outlaw, Bergi God of Storytelling / Harnfell Horn of Bounty, and more. But again, really moving this much because of the focus on the older cards that we have been seeing in the secondary market. Extra Planar Lens for Mirrodin up 2018 to $70. This is good in Commander builds with snow basic lands. And of course, Kaldheim just brought the snow mechanic back. Already you're seeing this in a lot of early Commander deck lists around Kaldheim cards again. Things like Tergrid God of Fright and Vorinclex Monstrous Raider. Sliver Legion from Future Sight. This was sitting around $100 for a very long time. It's been spiking recently, up $20.49 this week to $148.74. I assume at some point we'll see some retracing, but it probably doesn't go back down to $100 until there's a reprint. With that being said, Sliver decks continue to be popular in Commander. Remember, Kaldheim did bring us new creatures with the Changeling ability to use with Slivers if you choose to. And the Command Zone podcast did mention this card this week for its synergy with Maskwood Nexus from Kaldheim. Time for the Vintage Spotlight, and we have a fair amount of reserve list cards here again. Maybe not quite as many as we've seen over the last couple weeks, but there's still a lot of activity in that part of the secondary market. Like I said, over the last few weeks, there's numerous reasons for that. Anything from targeted buyouts to preemptive buying from players that are thinking cards might spike soon, to Kaldheim coming out and a lot of players building new Commander decks around some of those cards. But the thing to remember as we go through this section, like I said last week, is when we look at these prices, these are high grade prices. If you're not looking to buy a card in super high grade, maybe you just want to play with it and you're not a collector, then you don't have to pay the price you see on the screen. Shop around, pick up a lightly, moderately played copy or even a heavy played copy of the card. And you can get these cards for much cheaper. Keep in mind too, a lot of the averages when it comes to high grade copies of cards are being pushed up now because there seems to be an increase in people that are either trying to sell or selling slab graded copies of cards. And that does throw the math off a little bit. So when you look at your big websites, remember that because they don't necessarily pull out graded sales or graded cards for sale from those average prices. So when we get to a card that has a really high price point and I can't seem to find any true sales recently for that card at that price point, I will let you know. Finally, one last note. Again, I did put a cap on cards we're looking at from the sets Unlimited, Arabian Nights, Antiquities, and Legends. Those cards have to move at least $100 and 10% if we're going to talk about them in today's video, just again because so many cards are spiking right now. Alright, let's start off with a card that is on the reserve list. You can tell because of the tag in the upper right hand corner. This is Rafellos Llanowar Emissary. Now, this is an elf, but it is banned in Commander. It goes up 1022 this week regardless to $69.99. Solarian Academy, another card that is banned in Commander but does get vintage play. This goes up $10.90 this week to $300. Mox Diamond from Stronghold up $15 to $7.15. Does see play in Legacy, Lands, and more. Also gets a lot of Commander play. It's getting more play now in those Bergi God of Storytelling builds too. Yawgmoth's Will from Urza Saga, the Seas Commander, and vintage play. Also got a Command Zone mention this week. It goes up $16.12 to $452.50. Peacekeeper, many times you'll find this one in vintage Bant mid-range builds. It goes up $18.30 to $48.48. Helm of Obedience, another card that sees vintage play, also sees legacy play. It goes up $24.87 to $120.97. The only dual land on our list today, this is Tundra from Revised, going up $25.88 to $580.47. Many of those dual lands that were spiking over the last couple weeks are retracing pretty heavily right now. Replenish, this does get a little legacy play. It's great in those enchantment heavy commander builds though. It goes up $31.23 to $138.99. Drop of Honey up $102.01 to $964.98. Divine Intervention. Now, if you look at your big websites, this looks like it's going up $105.93 to $322.47, but this is the first card in the section where I can't really find supporting sales for that price point. High-grade copies seem to be going for around $200. Serendib Efreet. This is the original copy from Arabian Nights, going up $120 to $1,199. Remember, this has been reprinted a bunch of times. You can get really cheap copies if you just want to play with the card, and this price point is for an extremely high-grade copy. Next, we have Heaven's Gate. This one is jumping $130.56 to $134.21 this week. Rasputin Dreamweaver, as we move back to the reserve list, this goes up $141.20 to $329.99. At least in theory, when you look at high-grade copy sales, they seem to be going for $240 to $250 on average. Jovial Evil up $148.16 to $195.95 this week. Bottle of Suleiman, this is the original copy from Arabian Nights, up $149.50 to $499. Although, again, high-grade copies don't seem to be selling for that. They sell for closer to $195 right now. So it looks like there's a little market manipulation attached to this card. Again, this has been reprinted if you're looking to pick up a cheaper copy to play with. Same with this card here, the original Triskelion from Antiquities up $168.87 to $303.79. And another similar example, Manival, the copy from Unlimited, up $170 to $775. Although super high grade copies seem to sell for only about $635, so close but not quite there yet. This does go to show you though, a lot of collectors are just interested in high grade copies of these old Magic cards even when they're not on the reserve list. Next we have Moat. This one goes up $198.19 to $1,498.99. Again, that price feels a little inflated. High grade copies seem to sell for about $1,200 currently. You don't see this one that much. Chaos Orb from Unlimited up $199.02 to $1,199. Elvish Archers, here's an interesting one. This is the copy from Unlimited. It goes up in theory $232.55 to $265. Again, it looks like there's some market manipulation going on here. High grade copies are selling for about $150. Serendib Jinn, this one goes up $239.97 this week to $449.99. Roga of Kirkeep, this goes up $252.92 to $325 this week. Living Plane, this one looks like it's being targeted for some manipulation. In theory, going up $259.33 to $600, although I can't really find high-grade copies selling for more than $380. Chains of Mephistopheles, even this one is being manipulated a little bit. High-grade copies seem to be selling for about $19.50, but on paper, it looks like it's going up $347.11 to $2,499.89. Ivory Tower, now this Antiquities copy is getting manipulated a little bit. If you look at your big websites, it looks like it's going up $481.82 to $499. In reality, high-grade copies are selling for around $200. Revised does go up $10.61 this week to $18.99 though. Library of Alexandria up $630 this week to $2,999.99. And finally for this section, we have Nether Void going up $1,050.40 to $2,000. High-grade copies are selling for about $15.75 though. That brings us to the Commander Spotlight. You will see a good amount of reserve list cards, but like I have been saying, not quite as many as we've been seeing over the last few weeks in this section. There are a number of cards here that see a little Commander play, but they're truly moving mostly because of their reserve list status. I won't keep repeating that, so if I don't have anything additional to add to a card, I'll just move on. Kukemsa Pirates up 401 to 1175. This does see some play in Commander Pirates builds currently. Mangara's Tome is up 402 this week to 917. Cloudstone Curio from Ravnica City of Guilds. It goes up 413 to $50.34. This is a good Commander card and combo enabler in the format, and it is seeing increased play now in Bergi God of Storytelling builds. Howling Mind from Revised, and like I said, a lot of cards from that set that spiked previously are normalizing back down, but you do have other ones that are still spiking like this one. It goes up 419 to 1971 this week. Now this is a highly played Commander card. It is pretty good in those Turgid God of Fright builds because you want people to have cards in their hand so you can keep making them discard. Serra Aviary up 420 this week to $7, and this has seen a little increased Commander play and builds around the Commander Legends card, Kanji Skywarden. Next we have Earthlink. This goes up 459 this week to $659. Feldegriff. This is a fairly popular Commander, jumping up 463 this week to $1849. Parallel Lives goes up 463 this week to $39.24. This is a highly played Commander card, and it is seeing more play in a number of new builds around Kaldheim cards. Those include cards like Koma Cosmos Serpent and the very popular Lathril Blade of Elves. Also, this did get a Command Zone mention this week too. Glamour Die! It is time for my one per video. As you can see, this is a rare from Eventide. And if you watch this series, you already know that there was a recession in the game during this general time period of Magic. Less packs were cracked, and that means that these rares, especially if they haven't been printed anywhere else, they tend to get a little spiky when people pay attention to them. This one is going up 465 this week to 580, and the reason players are paying attention is because this has seen some increased Commander play now in Orvar, the all-form builds. Next we have Fork, another card from Revised, but I don't think that's the primary reason this is going up. It is a solid Commander card. It did get a Command Zone mention this week. It goes up 468 to 125.97. Jorarga Warcaller, great in Tribal Commander builds, and this is another good upgrade for the Elven Empire deck we've been talking about. Or again, if you just want to build around Lathril from scratch. Commander 2014 goes up 462 to 1126. World Weight goes up 481 to 1099. Another card moving because of that Elf Tribal push from Kaldheim. This is Guiltleaf Palace, the copy from Mystery Booster. It goes up 493 this week to 1799. Necrogen Mist. This is great in Tiny Bones, Trinket Thief Commander builds, and more. But now it is seeing more play again because of Turgid God of Fright from Kaldheim. This goes up 497 to 1846. Thran Tome goes up this week 499 to 649. Nevinral's Disc, this is the revised copy, but another card that does see a lot of Commander play. It goes up 502 this week to 1449. Urtai Wizard Adept, and remember, Strixhaven is the next standard set to come out. Looks like it could have a focus on the Wizard tribe, perhaps. This goes up 513 to 3450. Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre. This is the one from Modern Masters 2015, going up 513 this week to $70.62. This is another one of those cards that you can find in those modern Tybalt's Trickery builds right now. Also, this continues to be a great Commander card in builds like Kozilek the Great Distortion, and it is also seeing play in some builds based around Kaldheim cards, things like Asika God of the Tree and Svella Ice Shaper. Bitter Blossom from Ultimate Masters up 520 this week to 4409. This does see a little Legacy play and a good amount of Commander play in Anawan the Rune Thief builds and more. Mind Slicer from Odyssey. This is great in those Tiny Bones Trinket Thief Commander builds and a lot more in the format. The reason there's attention on it right now, though, is because a lot of players are putting it in their Turgid God of Fright Commander decks. And also this got a Command Zone mention this week. It goes up 526 to 2242. Greater Oromancy. This one's a Shadow War rare. I won't say it again, but this goes up 530 to 6344. Great card in enchantment heavy builds in Commander. Also seeing some increased play around a new Kaldheim card. Isika God of the Tree / the Prismatic Bridge, because it does help to protect the Prismatic Bridge. Mana Vortex, this goes up 531 this week to 55.59. Rock of Courages, this is the copy from Revised. It goes up 553 to 9.99. Harbinger of Night, this goes up 555 to $10. Cerulean of the Claw of 556 this week to 1942. Now this does see a little Commander play, but really not as much as you might think, even with Magda floating around out there now. But I think a lot of speculators think picking up Reserve List Dragons could be a good bet, because Wizards has been giving a lot of support to core tribes recently, and a lot of people think that will continue. Baron Master Wizard, this could be tied in with Strixhaven speculation. It goes up 572 to 49.99. Squandered Resources, sometimes in Legacy Aloran sideboards, also sees Commander playing a number of builds, including the Gitrog monster. This goes up 576 to $55. Goblin Bomb, this goes up 581 this week to $14.99. Corpse Dance, this has seen some increased Commander play recently in Obeka Brute Chronologist builds. It goes up 588 to $48.69. Intuition from Tempest, this does get a little Legacy play and a good amount of Commander play. It goes up 605 this week to $243.74. Didgeridoo, another Homelands card. It goes up 607 to $49.99. And of course, this does see play in Minotaur Tribal builds in Commander. Farmstead, this is another card from Revised, jumping up in value, up 615 this week to $20.50. Mudslide up 642 to $9.99. Dwarven Blood Boiler. The Dwarf Tribe is also getting support from Kaldheim, of course, and this is seeing some increased Commander play now in Magda Brazen Outlaw builds. It goes up 657 to $14.49. Jeweled Lotus, very highly played Commander card from Commander Legends. It goes up 687 this week to $87.95. Knights of Thorn, this one jumps up $669 to $13. Nut Collector, this is seeing more Commander play now because of a legendary squirrel that was in Kaldheim. That card is Toski, Bearer of Secrets. There was also a secret layer recently called We Hope You Like Squirrels, but this goes up $716 this week to $28.48. Gemstone Caverns, even though this is from Time Spiral, it is jumping up this week $723 to $62.49. This does see some Commander play and a good amount of Modern play. Back to Revised with Rock Hydra, this goes up $732 to $19. Sorrow's Path goes up $758 to $16.99. Powder Keg up $763 to $20.99. Here's another card that's good in those Commander Orvar the Allform builds. This is Whim of Olrath. It goes up $774 to $32.19. Winds of Change now. This is a popular Commander card, but we're looking at the Portal copy that's drying up online a little bit this week. It goes up $778 to $49.50. Just when you thought you saw the last of City of Shadows, it goes up $792 to $68.13. Karn Silver Golem from Urza Saga goes up $8 to $39.99. This does see some play as a Commander. Demonic Tutor, great vintage, great Commander card. It's in a lot of builds, new and old. Ultimate Masters goes up $619 to $56.08. Revised goes up $637 to $52.12. And the Dual Decks Anthology copy goes up $819 to $58.11. Kesa, this is an elf. It does have a very relevant ability, though, even if the casting cost is a little high for a 2/3 creature. It goes up $847 to $14.99. Phyrexian Negator. Now, this actually has shown up in some Blim Comedic Genius Commander builds recently. The Urza's Destiny copy goes up $518 to $945. The Dual Decks Phyrexia versus the Coalition, that copy is only found in foil. It goes up $939 to $20. Volrath Stronghold, popular Commander card in various builds. It goes up $974 to $167. Tracker, this is a reserve list card from the dark that a lot of people overlooked for a little while, but now it's jumping up $990 to $1999. Argothian Worm, this goes up $1008 to $1211. Mobilize, this is showing up in some Lathril Blade of Elves Commander builds. This is a good but hard to find in good condition upgrade to that Elven Empire Kaldheim Commander deck. It goes up $1035 to $1593. Lurker climbs $1060 this week to $2174. Goblin King, the copy from, you guessed it, Revised. It goes up $1115 to $1539. Obviously, this is played in Goblin Tribal Commander builds. Willow Priestess, this goes up $1158 to $1950. Again, I think there are speculators looking at cards like this because this ties into the Fairy Tribe. Although, in recent years, Wizards has leaned towards blue-black as being the Fairy colors. Still, you never know, though, if this card could come in handy in the future. Winding Canyons up $1191 to $6774. Worms of the Earth, this goes up $1196 to $2159. Equipoise jumps up $1202 to $25. Another card from Revised here, Granite Gargoyle, up $1240 to $29.99. I think this one would have fallen off if I grabbed the prices at the exact same time this week as I did last week, because I think it was about $30 last week too. Lotus Veil, this goes up $1264 to $54.99. Inaba Spirit Crafter, now this does show up in Commander Minotaur Tribal builds that feature Sethron Herloon General, or sometimes Neheb the Worthy. This goes up $1282 to $14.99. Treachery, another card that is seeing increased play now in Orvar, the all-form commander builds. It goes up 1348 to 129.97. Survival of the Fittest from Exodus. He's playing a lot of different commander decks. Very solid card. It goes up 1360 to 309.97. Donate. Sometimes you'll find this one in Zedru the Great-Hearted commander builds. It goes up 1418 to 29.99. Another dragon on the reserve list spiking. This is Lightning Dragon of 1428 to 1775. Great Whale, yet another card that you might find in an Orvar, the all-form commander build. It goes up $14.91 this week to $45. Serra Sanctum, another good card for enchantment-heavy commander builds. This did get a command zone mention this week, as well as a card you could play with a new Kaldheim card. That's Nico Eris. This goes up $15 to $449.98. Grindstone from Tempest. Now, this does combo with Painter's Servant, and of course, you did see that combo a lot in Legacy for many years. Currently, if you look at MTGO, though, there's not a lot of that happening right now in Legacy, although it could always make a comeback. This does see play with that card in Commander, however. It goes up $18.07 this week to $39.99. Scorched Ruins, good in Commander Kozilek the Great Distortion builds, and more. Now, this was one of those cards that looks like it might be inflated a little bit. On paper, going up $20.99 to $81.99. High-grade copies seem to be selling for $55 to $60, though. Sky Shroud Poacher. This one is moving, of course, because of Elf Tribal support from Kaldheim, like we've been talking throughout the video now. This one goes up $22.21 to $26. Another reserve list dragon with Catacomb Dragon, in theory, going up $25.75 to $29.74, although it looks like high-grade copies are selling for closer to $16. Still a jump for this card, though, regardless. Smokestack from Urza Saga, seeing additional commander play in those Tergrid God of Fright builds. It goes up $32.09 to $49.99. And finally, for this section, Sliver Queen, the Sliver Lord that is on the reserve list. Like I said earlier in the video, you know Sliver commander decks are always going to be popular, and Kaldheim did give us some creatures with Changeling recently. This goes up $116.14 to $399.99. And that takes us to the Premium Spotlight. So there's a lot of premium card spiking right now. It would be hard to truly cover all the ones that probably deserve it. But like I do every week, I try to find a couple copies that at least tell somewhat of a story of what's happening in the marketplace. I don't like to go too deep with cards like this because if they don't have a lot of sales in any given week, the data can be skewed. It can be easily manipulated sometimes. But let's see what I picked this week. We're going to begin with that foil pre-release copy of Lightning Dragon, jumping up $102.19 this week to $179.98. I kind of thought this card was undervalued for a while, so I'm not too surprised to see it jump. I'm sure it will retrace a little bit, but I'm sure it's not going to go back down to where it was. Grim Monolith, the foil copy from Urza's Legacy, in theory going up $357.50 this week to $4,525. But this is another example where if I pulled the data at the exact same time this week as I did last week, this card probably would have fallen off. But I wanted to leave it on here to point something out to you. It appears that this price is actually holding. However, like I said last week, there was only one sale that brought this to this price point. So that could have been a case where somebody overpaid, they had fear of missing out, kicking in, they saw buy it now and they paid for it. Or it could have been a false sale as well. So my point is, just be careful if you're looking to pick up this card right now. I do think it is going to come down and most likely retrace a little bit in the coming weeks. Alright, that does it for this episode of the Market Watch. Maybe this is the start of things starting to calm down. We'll know next week if this trend continues or not. I kind of hope it does. It's really not good for anybody when too many cards are spiking too aggressively. That leads to crashes and retracing. That also leads to players not being able to get the cards that they want to play the game. And if you have less people interested in the game, that means you have less people interested in buying cards, and ultimately card values will go down again. So whether you're a collector or if you're a player, you really shouldn't want to see these kind of spikes. They are dangerous at the end of the day. With that being said, though, as always, hey, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.